All right, this is for algebra. This is a third way to solve system of equations using elimination. Now I'm going to separate the elimination focus into two parts. This first part, these two equations here, we're going to actually come back to those when I introduce the multiplication if necessary. So we're going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to show you how to solve. This is the third way to solving systems of equations. So going down here to these problems, the first step was to arrange equations so that like terms are in columns. So this is a third method, another method on solving systems of equations, part one. So I notice here this is 18 equals 10x minus 3y, and then here is x plus 3y equals 15. So I just want to rewrite this so then the x's are in the same column, the y's are in the same column, and your constants are in the same column. Now, I'm going to write it to where this is not the best format to write underneath. So follow me. I'm going to go ahead and flip this page over, and I'm going to rewrite this so you can see how it would be better to set up your homework. So the original problem said 18 equaled 10x minus 3y, and x plus 3y equals 15. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I like to go across. If my eyes don't have to go over each equations, I like that better. So I'm going to rewrite this to where my x's are in the same column. My y's, all I'm doing is rearranging the equation. I'm not adding my 3y to the side. I'm not subtracting 10x. I'm just switching these two expressions to the other side of the equation. So don't change signs yet. I'm not trying to solve for anything. Now this one I kept the same. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it just like that. I'm going to rewrite it though. So now I can just focus on this. So all I did here was I rewrote this. I just switched these two to keep them. Now this is one column. This is another column. This is another column. My x's are in one column, my y's are in one column, my constants are in one column. Now, so once you rearrange it, we don't need to multiply. We'll come back to that skill in part two. Add the equations. Combining like terms will eliminate one of the variables. Now, when it says add the equations, here's what's happening. Again, our goal when we have two equations, two unknowns, is to get it down to one equation with one variable. We have two equations, two different variables. Our goal is to get it down to one equation, one variable. So I look at this. If I added these two equations together, if I added these two equations going down, would it alleviate, would it get rid of one of the variables? And it will, because this is opposite coefficients. So when I add these together, I have 10x plus x, which is going to be 11x. Negative 3y plus 3y, that's 0. That goes away. And I can add 18 plus 15, and that's going to be 33. And my x is then going to be 3. Okay. Now, I can plug it back in to either equation to solve for y. I'm going to choose to go ahead and do x into 3, really either way. I can put it here. 3 plus 3y equals 15. I can subtract 3. 3y equals 12, y equals 4. Now, since I plugged it back into this equation to solve for y, I'm going to test to see if it works into the other one. Okay, so I'm going to test to see if it works. Oops, I better do it over here. So I'm going to test. This is my testing. 10x minus 3y equals 18. My ordered pair, I'm saying, was 3, 4. That's what I'm saying my answer is. So I'm going to plug it back in. 10 times 3 minus 3 times 4. Does that equal 18? 10 minus 3 is 30. Minus 12, question mark, because I'm questioning. 30 minus 12 does equal 18. Okay, so it does work into that equation that I did not solve for at first. So 3, 4 does work in that. Okay, so rearrange it to the variables are in the same column. Opposite coefficients, then you can just add them together. Okay, so this one, if I wanted to rearrange, so the 3x minus 2y, 3x minus 2y equals 10. Negative 2x plus 9, no, negative 2y, baby, be careful. Now, if you want to, as you're rewriting, if you want to go ahead and put it right there, that's actually a smart move. Negative 2y plus 9x equals negative 14. So this one, I like the x's in the front. Just keep it consistent. There's no reason to make it all crazy. Now, 9x, all I'm doing is switching these. That's a positive, and that's a negative. So that makes a difference, and then negative 14. All right, now this one you got to be careful. If we just added straight down, we would not get rid of one of the variables. Because if I added this together, that'd be a negative 4y, and I'd have a 12x. So I didn't meet my goal. My goal is to get rid of one of the variables so I can solve for the other variable. But what could we do to make these opposite? We actually can, you're right, I hope you said it, we can actually multiply everything by negative 1. And it really doesn't matter which equation you multiply by negative 1, but here's how I want you to do it. I'm going to now change, I'm going to go over this way. I'm going to multiply this first term by negative 1. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and do this, parentheses, negative 1. So then I'm going to distribute that negative 1, that's going to be a negative 3x, positive 2y equals a negative 10. That way I can keep it straight on what I'm doing. 9x minus 2y equals a negative 14. Now I can add them. These are opposite coefficients. Now it's not always y either. Just this happened to be both of these had, you can get rid of the y's. But I look at opposite coefficients. So I multiplied every term by negative 1 to change the signs so when I added them together, they go away. So negative 3x plus 9x is 6x. These cancel each other out. And I have a negative 10 plus a negative 14, which is a negative 24, which my x is going to be equals a negative 4. Okay? So now, if it's a negative 4, go back. I would go back into the original. If you just switch this, you can go back to either one. I wouldn't put it into this one, because if you made an error or something, you could mess up. So negative 4, I'm running out of room here, so put x back in for one of these. I'm trying to see which one would be easier. Really, either one. It doesn't really matter. 3 times a negative 4 minus 2y equals 10. 3 times a negative 4 is a negative 12 minus 2y equals 10. Add 12, add 12. Negative 2y equals 22. Y should equal a negative 11. Okay, y should equal a negative 11. So this is where I want to go back and test. Since I just used that first one, I'm going to test the second one for sure. Your ordered pair was a negative 4, negative 11. So I'm saying 9x minus 2y, negative 14. I like to just rewrite that so then I don't have to keep looking up here. 9 times a negative 4 minus 2 times a negative 11. Does that equal a negative 14? Okay, 9 times a negative 4 is negative 36. Negative 2 times a negative 11 is a positive 22. Does that equal negative 14? Well, 30, that's opposite. So opposite. So you're going to subtract different signs and take the difference. 36 minus 22 is 14, and 36 does have a negative, so that is true. If it doesn't work out, don't fake it and don't force it to work. Something's wrong. Use it to go back and check. You really, as you're doing these, you really should know if you had the correct answer or not. You really shouldn't have to look at the answer key or anything. But sometimes we make 2 mistakes and you think it's right. But so that's what you're doing. All right, let's see if we have time for the last one. Bell's about to ring. So, all right. So this one, okay, same thing. I'm going to rewrite. I'm just going to go ahead and change this as I write it. So I'm going to do 3x plus 5y. 3x plus 5y equals negative 10. And then 6x plus 5y equals a negative 25. Okay, so I just rewrote it so it has the columns. X is in a column, Y is in a column, and the coefficient. Not coefficient. Constant. So, again, if I add these, it doesn't alleviate one of the variables. It doesn't do me any good. So I need to subtract. Well, you can subtract, but this is where people make mistakes. I would change, and it doesn't have to be the first one. It can be the second one. I just chose the first one because it's right there. But negative 3x minus 5y equals a positive 10. The reason I'm doing that again is because when I add these two together, it's going to be 10y. And it's not always the y. I wish we would have done one with the x. So it could be the x terms. So now the other one, we got to get that right below it. Okay, now add the columns together. Negative 3x plus 6x is 3x. These cancel, and that's going to be a negative 15. 10 plus a negative 25 is a negative 15. X equals a negative 5. Okay. Plug it back in. I'd plug it back into the original because, like one of the originals, just in case you made an error here. So negative 5, and looking at the 2, it doesn't really matter which one. 3x plus 5y equals a negative 10. 3 times a negative 5 plus 5y equals 10. Negative 15 plus 5y equals 10. Add 15, add 15. We have 5y equals 25. I'm saying y equals 5. Test it. You're not testing it. I will yell at you, and you know I will. Because you're going to get it wrong, and you're not going to figure out why. Test it. All right, here we go. And since I just did this first one, I'm going to test it in the second one for sure. 6y plus 5, or 6x plus 5y equals a negative 25. 6 times a negative 5 plus 5 times 5. I think something's wrong. 30 plus 25. See? Something's wrong. Oh, and my light just went out. Hold on. Okay, see? This is why we test it. Something's wrong. Negative 3x. Did I copy it down wrong? Or the problem could be wrong. Well, let's see. Negative 3x. Okay, so if I run out of time, your job is to figure out where my mistake is. 3. Because right here it didn't work. That's a negative 30 plus 25. That's not a negative 25. Okay, guys, something's wrong with 3. Your goal is to figure out what it is. I will also do the same, but I know this is getting long, and we will try to figure out what that is. But now, when your job is to only, you got to make sure only example 1 that we went over, like kind of, but your assignment is only 3 through 10 all on that page, because this one, the next one, the multiply first, is going to change a little bit. But you want to only do 251, 3 through 10 all. And we'll come back to this and figure out where my error is. We have to find it. Oh, no. Oh, yep, found it. I wonder if you found it. Okay, right here. I didn't put a negative 10 here. That needs to be a negative 10. See? It's just a little negative, and then that's going to change all that. That's going to be a negative 10. That's going to be a negative 5. Y should equal 1. And this is why we check. See? Perfect example. Y. So y is going to be a negative 1. If y is a negative 1, now I got to finish. Now that makes sense. That's why. See? Simple mistake, but it made it not work. If I didn't check it, I wouldn't have known there was a mistake. So, oh, and you need your ordered pair as your final answer. But, whew, see? We all do it. That's why we check. All right, guys. Have a great day, and I will chat with you soon.